So you listed your home for sale, you're not getting offers, you're not getting showings, and now you're starting to wonder if your agent dropped the ball, or even worse, that something is wrong with your house. But here's the truth that most sellers don't want to hear. The housing market has changed, and if you're not adjusting with it, you're likely going to sit. So the real question is, how do you sell in a housing market where things aren't flying off the shelves anymore? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into in today's video. Now, as we're going through it, do me a favor, if you find any value at all, make sure you hit that thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel to stay updated on everything about how to sell your home for top dollar. So the problem with all of us is we don't really like change, and we have very short memories. So the seller's market that you remember from 6 months ago or even a year ago, or from maybe when you bought your house, well, that's not today. And that's because many housing markets out there have shifted. It's no longer a strong seller's market. In fact, it's probably more neutral than anything else. And in some markets out there, buyers actually have the upper hand. And one of the primary reasons that shift has happened is now we have more inventory out there. Buyers have more options. So they no longer feel the pressure just to rush into the first house on the first weekend. Instead, a lot of them are sitting back waiting to see what pops up on the market. Is there a better opportunity coming tomorrow, next week, or maybe even next month? In fact, I'm seeing it on the listings that I have right now. Buyers are walking through the property. I'm getting feedback from the agents that, hey, the buyers like the property, but they're just going to sit back and see what happens. They're going to see if the price comes down. They're going to see if something better pops up, which now means because you have more competition, homes are actually sitting on the market longer. Remember the neighbors that sold their home in just 3 days over the asking price? Well, that was last year. Well, today, that home might actually sit on the market for over 30 days without an offer at all. And because this shift is happening, a lot of sellers out there are panicking, thinking that something is wrong, either with their home or with their agent. I'm getting a lot of calls currently from sellers who have their homes currently listed on the market, starting to ask me, what's wrong? Hey, can I change agents? What should I do differently? And because these sellers are already under contract with another broker, I can't really give opinions. I can't really give my thoughts on it because it goes against our code of ethics. But what I'll tell you is it's a common theme right now. In fact, this is something I haven't seen in probably 10 years. And I think the biggest issue with it is that their agent actually can't convey what's happening in the current market. They can't tell them that, hey, it's not your home, it's actually just the market in general. And that's one reason that I like to communicate with my sellers at least once a week in writing, letting them know about showings, letting them know about feedback, letting them know what's happening in the current market. As an agent who's been doing this over 20 years, I network with a lot of top real estate agents, not just nationwide, but in my market. And we're often talking about what we're seeing. What are you seeing on this house? How are offers coming in? And what I do is I use all of that information to go back to my clients to say, hey, listen, it's not you. It's not me. It's just the market in general. But with that, let's talk about why your house might not actually be selling. The very first problem I'm seeing right now is that a lot of sellers are chasing the market. They're coming on the market at a price higher than what the comps in the neighborhood actually support, with this idea that I'm likely going to have to negotiate the price down. So with that, I'm going to start higher than what my agent has recommended. I'm going to start higher than what my bottom line is, so that as I have to negotiate down, I'll actually end up at my original price. Well, the biggest problem with that is you're often chasing the market, right? You're coming on the market too high. Buyers out there are seeing it because they're not only seeing what's online in your market, they're seeing where other homes have sold. And in their heads, they're thinking, well, this seller's unrealistic. I'm not even going to go see that property. So the number one thing you have to do in this market as a seller is price your home according to the comps. You can't go over the last comparable sale in most markets out there unless your home is entirely different. Maybe it's way more upgraded, has a better location, a better lot. You can't ask more for it just because you think your home is better. You have to price it based on what the market expectations are. And I know what you're thinking. Well, I don't want to underprice my home. Well, here's what I'll tell you. Anytime the market perceives that a home is underpriced, chances are it gets multiple offers. Chances are it ends up at the price it should have been priced at to begin with. So as a seller, you can no longer have this wait and see strategy. Hey, I'm just going to put it on the market and see what happens. You have to come to the market with strategy in mind. First impressions matter, which means you need to start that process by decluttering the home, by doing those minor repairs, by also staging in some cases. And then last lastly, price positioning based on where other homes in that market are selling. A lot of buyers out there are very, very cautious today. They not only want to see perceived value on that home, they want presentation, but they also want to see that the seller is serious. And the reality is, if your home isn't move-in ready or emotionally appealing, you're not only losing eyeballs on that property, but you're also losing offers. So as a seller, you have to think strategic. The market rewards preparation. And the thing is, you have one shot to make an impact. You either launch strong or you lose momentum. So again, I keep saying this, you need to price correctly from the start. Testing the market not only equals more days on the market, it means fewer offers, likely leading to this whole stale listing syndrome. Realize that the longer your home sits on the market, buyers think one of two things. They think your home is either overpriced or, even worse, that there's something wrong with it. And in some cases, neither of those are true. I have a home right now that's been sitting on the market for about 80 days. Now, part of that is because we were actually tied up under contract with another buyer who ended up backing out at the last minute once they found out someone had passed away in the property. So we lost time, momentum, potentially even dollars by tying up ourselves on the market with that offer, because now those days on the market have been added back to what we were already on the market, and now we're sitting with buyers wondering whether or not the home is overpriced or there's something wrong. So remember something I always say, exposure drives demand and demand drives price. So as a seller, you have to get an agent who's going to get the most exposure on that property. They do that through professional photography, 3D tours, home videos on the property, social media advertising. You can't just put a sign in the yard with the expectation that someone's going to come knock on your door and give you an offer. You now need strategy. You now need a marketing plan. You need an agent that can not only give you the marketing plan, but actually execute on it. Now with that, there's something I want to talk about at the moment that I see a lot of pushback on, and that's realizing that a reduction in the price isn't a failure. It doesn't mean that your home is bad. It just means that the market didn't agree with that price for some reason. And the thing with real estate agents is that, yes, we're somewhat guessing on that price that we're telling you your home is worth. What we're doing is we're pulling comparables of homes that have sold like your property in the market. Now understand, some of those properties are identical, similar lot locations, similar upgrades, they look very much the same. While his other homes might not be quite as similar. We might have to make adjustments in order to give you an idea of what that home is worth. But here's the one thing that changes every time a home sells is the current market at that time. Are you in an inclining market? Are you in a declining market? Are you in a stabilized market? And what are mortgage rates doing at that time? Because all of those things impact the price. On top of seasonality in the market, yes, the month that you're selling your home actually has an impact on your bottom line. So when us as real estate agents come into a property and we start talking about price, realize that you could have 5 agents come into your property and we all come up with a different number as to what we think your home is worth. And while every market has a sweet spot, sometimes you miss it and you have to adjust in order to stay relevant. Price reductions are a tool to stay competitive, not a sign of desperation. But with that, I don't think you should price your home higher than what you think it's worth with this expectation that you're going to have to adjust the price down, that this expectation that, well, the buyer's going to come in and they're going to give me some lowball offer and I need to give myself some room to negotiate. Or even worse, hey, I'm going to price it high, and if I don't get offers at that price, then I'll just slowly bring the price down to where the market currently is, because in a declining market, that means you're chasing that market down. Now, at the moment, most markets out there have stabilized, but what I can tell you, as we move into the fall, winter market, more homes come on the market, that just means less buyer demand out there, more supply. So when you have more supply than you have buyer demand, that likely puts pressure on prices. And if you're currently on the market priced too high because you had this idea that, hey, I was going to have to come down anyway, well, now you're chasing that market down. But as I say all of that, one thing I want you to understand is that your real estate agent right now matters more than ever. Understand that a lot of real estate agents out there in the market today that you're talking to, that you're interviewing, maybe even your agent, hasn't sold property in a market where things didn't fly off the shelf. They never had to have tough conversations. They don't know what it feels like for a home to sit on the market for 3 months, 6 months, even a year. I've been at this for over 20 years. I've had listings where it took over a year to sell that property. A lot of tough conversations during that time, a lot of market updates, a lot of price reductions on top of tough negotiation. And you need someone who understands today's market, not yesterday's headlines. Your agent should be bringing strategy, marketing, and negotiation to the table, not just throwing a sign in the air. You need to ask them, how are they creating exposure? How are they bringing buyers to the table? Who are they targeting? And lastly, how will they keep you informed? Or what happens if my home doesn't sell at this price? What's your strategy? And that's because you don't need someone just to list your home. You need someone who can actually sell your home for a price that you're comfortable with so that you can actually accomplish your goals. Now, I've been doing this over 20 years. I network with a lot of top real estate agents all over the country. In fact, I have a huge database of brokers that I network with on a regular basis. So if you need a real estate agent that works like I do, that does what I'm talking about in these videos, that's pre-vetted, that can help you get to the finish line, use that link in the description of the video. Get in touch with me. I'm happy to make that referral so that you can get a professional on your side to help you go through that selling process. And also, I created a seller's playbook to go over the top things that I think you need to consider in today's market with everything shifting. You can actually get that in the description below as well. Now remember, if your home isn't selling, stop guessing. Now this is where I have a question for you. What are your biggest concerns in the current housing market? What are you stressed about? What are you panicking about? Do me a favor and let me know in the comments. And also, if you want to know what you need to do in a shifting housing market in order to stay relevant outside of what we covered today, do me a favor and check out this video here.